We returned to Gulf Breeze for the third time in October 1996. Two of the reasons we returned was to meet old friends and to check out the area from where I filmed a UFO 2 years earlier. We met up with old friends, but it was like the bubble had burst. People had given up on the sky watching and Shoreline Park was empty most nights. We were told there was a power struggle in the local MUFON group and people had given up and walked away. Saying that, we did manage to meet up with some of the main characters we'd met before, people like Bruce and Ann Morrison, Rain Elise Pollock, Ken and Carol Baker, and my old friend Chris Fowler flew in from Wales while we were there. The UFO sightings had decreased and the feel of the area had changed. There was not a lot to do, so we just enjoyed the beach and did some shopping. At night we would meet up with old friends on Shoreline Park for a catch up, and on one occasion we joined others for a meal out at a restaurant. The locals were getting back to normal and getting on with their lives.
Is it on? No. We're in Gulf Breeze on Santa Rosa Island, which is opposite Gulf Breeze, just across the water there. A very famous spot for UFO sightings since 1987, which came in with the Ed Walters sightings, and then the Sky Watchers, where hundreds of videos of UFOs and photographs have been taken. 2 years ago, on October the 6th in 1994, we interviewed Ed Walters at 12 o'clock noon. The interview lasted for about 30 minutes. We then went back to our hotel, which is further down the drive down Santa Rosa Island, and then we returned to this exact spot where we are now. Without knowing it, I filmed Gulf Breeze, which is over there, the Shoreline Park area where the Sky Watchers go at night time, and then I panned the camera across Bob Sykes Bridge, and where the bridge meets the land there's a set of buildings there, and unwittingly I filmed a UFO in broad daylight between 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I didn't see the object at the time. It was there for long enough for me to video it, to put the video camera down and then pick my camera up and also photograph it. Not bad to say I didn't see it at the time, but it was 5 months later when this was noticed on the tape. I then checked the photographs because I know I took one in this area, and there's a little dot in the same place which appears on the video on the same as the photograph. So it was there some time, and we have asked certain people on the Sky Watchers to try and identify this. There is a water tower in the background, and we know for a fact that the water tower is not the UFO. We had the video blown up. We had the video blown up, and the object is definitely above the buildings. I've taken photographs off the video, and the photographs show something white, squarish looking, and it is definitely in the sky, and it is not a water tower. And tonight we shall get some opinions from the Sky Watchers who work at the Mutual UFO Network team here in Gulf Breeze to get their opinions of the object that I filmed 2 years ago. One of the fascinating parts about the UFO sighting was the area where the UFO was filmed. In the distance there is somewhere where Ed Walters lives. It is in his area. Ed Walters knew nothing about it at the time, and it just happened to be in the right place at the right time. To the left, as I pan the camera, we shall also see where the Sky Watchers have their Sky Watchers at night on Shoreline Park. It is about that area. And this is where the Mutual UFO Network team stay at night time. That's Shoreline Park.
Over the years since I published the video of my UFO over Gulf Breeze, I've had people say that what I actually filmed was the Pensacola Beach Ball Tower on Santa Rosa Island. This is to show that it is not the Pensacola Beach Ball Tower and disprove them. So what we have here is a picture of Gulf Breeze closing in, and I filmed it from the far right where it says video shot from here. The Pensacola Beach Ball Tower is further to the left. The UFO was filmed somewhere along the yellow line, and that is about 3/4 of a mile away from the Beach Ball Tower. And finally we've got another view from a postcard. The dotted yellow line again is my viewing point, which is below the picture. The yellow solid line is where I believe the UFO would have been, somewhere in that area, and this picture actually gives a better distance shot of the Pensacola Beach Ball Tower, which is 3/4 of a mile away between the yellow line and the X on the top right. So there is absolutely no way that that UFO, that object sitting in the air, there's no way that that is the Pensacola Beach Ball Tower. Hi, I'm here with Carol Baker at Gulf Breeze, and you write articles for me. Right, there was a model found by the people that moved into the Ed Walters house.
Right.
And there's just the research in England, well, there's no research in England regarding that, but the research shows that since the model was found, it wipes Ed Walters' story out as a hoax.
Right. Unfortunately, you know, when people are presented with that information, they don't look beyond what they're told. But if they did look beyond that, they'd find that the paper that the model was made out of was a set of plans that he drew long after, you know, all these events took place. And the people whose house he had drawn the plans for, you know, told the story that this was their home plan that had been drawn long after the event and everything. And if people just look a little further and beyond what they're presented with, they'd be able to see that that is the case.
Yeah, so he photographed the actual UFOs, somebody had made a model,
right,
and gone and planted this
right,
in
right.
the attic.
That seems to be what happened.
Yeah. Also, I've got video footage from Bruce Morrison that shows UFOs in the sky at night on Shoreline Park, and this footage, there's a lot of voices in the background, a lot of excited
lots of
voices.
Excited people, yeah.
And if you listen carefully as well, since we met Ed Walters 2 years ago, and since we've watched the videos, and you listen to Ed Walters on TV shows and the way he talks and the way he laughs, you can actually pick his voice out.
Yeah, you can.
So, with Ed Walters being in the crowd as well, that takes away the hoax theory.
Well, I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've been here. This is my 3rd time here. I've not seen anything. I've accidentally filmed something.
Right.
And I believe it's all happening here.
Well, I've had over 100 sightings in Shoreline Park myself in 2 years.
Yeah.
So I feel that there's definitely something going on in this area. I try very hard not to put an explanation on what I see. I just try to report what's been seen and not make a judgment call on it or anything, you know, like that. And the other interesting thing for me, Tony, is that I've been in this park twice when Ed Walters has been in the park, and everybody's like, oh, you're going to have a sighting, you're going to have a sighting, and we haven't seen anything. So I think, you know, if he was perpetuating a hoax, surely, you know, that would be an excellent opportunity for him to do something like that.
With an audience.
Right.
And nothing's happened.
And nothing's happened. You know, in fact, I've had all those sightings, and Ed Walters has not been, you know, in the vicinity whatsoever.
Yeah.
We've even had people that still are in touch with him ask him if he was even home on a night that we've had a sighting down here at Shoreline Park. And quite often he's not even in the city, he's in New Orleans or somewhere else. So, you know, I think that he had a genuine experience.
Yeah.
And I think there are still people having genuine experiences in Gulf Breeze.
Yeah, but, what about the change from nighttime sightings to daytime sightings?
Well, in '95 we had several daytime sightings reported, 2 of which I had personally, and a couple of others that other people called the hotline about. Bruce Morrison actually had a daytime sighting in '95, and a couple of other people did in the group. But this year we haven't really heard about anything in the daytime.
Right.
So you can never predict. I mean, if I've learned anything in the 2 years that I've been involved in this here in Gulf Breeze, is you just never know what's going to be reported, what you're going to see on a given night. A majority of the sightings at Shoreline Park involved the red and amber lights in different configurations doing different things. But we've also had many reports in the last year or so of triangular shaped craft, lights in triangular patterns, and also some other different kind of very large bowls of light that float down to the ground, which is very interesting also. So some very different things, but all very interesting, and stuff that you can identify, you know, from other researchers in other parts of the country. So.
And you've also got the Pensacola Air Station.
Right, we have Naval Air
base.
Station to the west and
got the
Eglin Air
airport.
Force to the east.
So you're very familiar
We're surrounded, but we are very familiar with the planes, the strobe patterns on the planes. We've got Pensacola Regional Airport just to our northeast here. You know, when you come out 5 or 6 nights a week for 2 years, you kind of get used to what the planes and helicopters look like.
There was an incident involving you and another woman during the winter.
Right,
Can you tell us about that? Because everything she saw was a UFO.
It was funny because she had just newly moved to the area and had not had a sighting, but she was excited and ready to see something, so she came sky watching quite regularly, and we'd sit out here, and often it would just be the 2 of us, you know, and she'd say, "What's that? What's that?" And I'd say, "That's a plane. It's okay. It's a plane going into Pensacola Airport." Oh, you know, disappointment. "What's that? What's that?" You know, "Oh no, that's a Naval Air Station training plane. You know, it's a T-22 or whatever they're called." Oh, and then one night we were sitting, and I had my back to the Gulf.
After many aircraft.
Yeah, many aircraft and shooting stars and satellites and you name it, everything else that flies around in the sky here. She's like, "Carol, what's that?" And I said, "That's a." "Oh wow, that's Bubba," and we grabbed the camera and the binoculars and the tape recorder, and she was really excited. It wasn't a very long sighting, but it was a red light configuration that came in, 3 red lights that lasted for about 10 or 15 seconds. And
so you know exactly what to look for.
We know what to look for, We've seen enough to know what to look for. So, and once you've seen the way they look, the colour, there's something about the quality of the colour of the red and amber lights that you just don't see in a normal, you know, like electrically generated light that is different, and once you've seen it you recognise it easily.
Right. Right, Carol, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So we left Gulf Breeze and headed down Sandside Drive, where Ed Walters photographed the famous road shot UFO. That was it, the holiday was over and we had to head back to Orlando. I was told the Islander newspaper was sold and the UFO stories just faded away. However, the UFO sightings continue, but on a smaller scale. The big question is, who's taking note these days?